Good afternoon. I welcome you with all my heart, all my mind, my spirit, including Spencer's cat. Today I want to talk more or less informally. I've said many times that it really helps to know what you're doing in spiritual seeking. What are you looking for? Why are you here? The other thing I wanted to say is that spirituality is not about understanding. It's about feeling and surrender, giving up all that you had thought you wanted, all that you have, and just surrendering. You might say to the will of God, accepting your fate as you live it now. Forget about the future. Live in the present. Don't be striving all the time for some educational goal, some business goal, some personal goal. Pretend that everything is predetermined. It's not. But if you pretend that way, you just relax. And whatever comes up is okay. That's why Robert said everything is predetermined. You have no choice in it. You can't see what the future brings. And the past is but a memory. So live in the present. Live in the now. Live and accept and celebrate whatever is arising each moment, even if it seems like a tragedy. I've had a major tragedy. I've been banned from Facebook for 4 days. So my favorite form of entertainment is no longer open to me. I can't converse with anybody on Messenger. I can't bitch about Remco or students going away. I can't complain about other teachers. I can't bitch about how I feel. It's all closed to me. Maria, you are giving me a headache. Slow down, please. Slow down, please. So, if you're searching for a particular state where everything is solved in your life, no problems, you can have that state by living fully in emptiness. But if you practice a few more years, to live in a state where everything is important once again. Find out what it is that you want. That's a more direct way than reading hundreds of books on spirituality, going to lots of different workshops, going to lots of different teachers and satsangs. when you find out what drives your seeking, whether it's understanding, some spiritual states, a desire for a spiritual relationship, a desire for God, a desire for bliss, desire for full body orgasms. Whatever it is, there may be deeper desires going on inside of you too that you don't know about. I'd say for the first 25 years, you're a beginner in spirituality. You're just a beginner. And you have so many ideas about what you want, and none of them may be what you really want. Maybe there's different, deeper wants in you. A want for God, a wanting for the ceasing of seeking, a wanting out of the fear of death, a wanting to accept death. One of the most famous books I ever read was The Denial of Death. In it, the author explores how much of the human condition is based on denying that they're going to die. Religion, spirituality, movements that are bigger than you, that will continue after you die. I know my mother was so frightened of death that she didn't go to the doctors because she was afraid she'd find out that she had some terminal condition. She had a doctor come to the house who was a practicing nurse. My mother wasn't feeling good. So the nurse took several blood tests, and the results were horrendously high in certain functions. So the nurse had her hospitalized in the ER at Boswell Hospital in Sun City, Arizona. They refused to treat her, saying there's nothing acutely wrong with her, despite the fact that the doctor had signed her in. She was dehydrated. She had a temperature. There was an indication she was suffering from an infection. They gave her a bag of antibiotics along with I think it was a half a bag of IV, and released her home against my wishes, against my pleas. And she went home and asked me what that had been all about. And it was hard to explain to her that she had high blood values, but she wouldn't go to the doctor. 30 days later, I got a call that my mom had fallen out of bed. She had tried to get up during the night and walk, and had fallen. She was rushed to emergency, and they had a dozen people working over her in the room. Finally, they decided something was acutely wrong with her. And she died the next morning, late in the morning, actually late the next day, June 30th last year, of septic shock, an untreated infection, the one that she hadn't been hospitalized for in the first place. But her utter fear of doctors doomed her. Had she been hospitalized the first time we attempted to get her in, and the doctor asked her, did she want to be hospitalized, without knowing how serious her condition was, he didn't tell her that. She said no. So they released her. She had severe dehydration and then a blood infection, sepsis, which killed her, that combination. Because at the end, when they were giving her fluids and severe, very powerful antibiotics, her kidneys had stopped functioning, as well as other organs were failing. Fear ruled my mother's life. She didn't go anywhere. She didn't want to go outside the house. Everything had to come to her, or it didn't happen. What are your fears? You fear death? You feel murder? Fear murder? You fear poverty? You fear losing the love of your life? You fear losing your home? You fear fear itself. The fear in you is so great that you have fear about feeling it. You fear leaving your home, going to a new country. You fear failing in college. And in the background of your mind, do you fear death? Do you fear death? You fear falling asleep one last time and not waking up. You fear a painful death. You fear illness. What do you fear? Can you feel that fear? Can you work on that fear by feeling it? Do you feel that the world you live in is the wrong world for you? It's not the right place. Nobody understands you. Or you don't understand them. You feel like a stranger in a strange land. You look and seek for a spiritual community with like-minded people. You're seeking. You know, spiritual trip is lifelong. Most people think that there's one major awakening, and after that, it's all pie and cream. Well, it's a bit true in a sense. Your first awakening lets you know that there's a world beyond the human world, whether it's emptiness or a world of energy. I've had 4 or 5 major awakenings, 4, and thousands of little ones. Joshu said he had 17 great awakenings and thousands of small ones. The period of his practice before he became a teacher lasted 60 years. He was a student for 60 years before he felt like teaching. Almost every day unfolds a new teaching when you practice hard. When you first start practicing and you practice hard, you practice meditation, you will encounter state after state after state. All kinds of things will happen to you, depending on the intensity of your practicing. But those states come and go. They leave you without a change. So you learn that states themselves are not the point. To be a real awakening, whatever happens to you has to be permanent. Whether it's an awakening to emptiness, awakening to nothingness, awakening to the fact that consciousness is illusory, as is all of the content, such as the world and your body. Awakening to having no self, or a later awakening that no concepts have any meaning whatsoever, have any reality whatsoever. Or a later awakening that the world itself is without meaning. Yeah, you can attach meaning to it through physics and chemistry and sciences and say that this is the truth, that is the truth, there is the truth. But it's only truthful for certain situations, like engineering a satellite, constructing a rocket, making an automobile. But it really doesn't help in doing relationships with others or discovering your own depths, the various rooms in your inner mansion, your inner spiritual mansion of many, many rooms and unfolding places and processes. Once you turn inside, you turn your focus around from outside to inside. And awareness becomes self-aware. And you begin your journey, your inward journey of discovering all the layers and processes of the self, all the aspects of the things you identify with, from the sense of I am, to your body, to the subtle body, the energy bodies, to the thoughts, the nervous system. You're just being awake and responding to the external environment. All of these things you learn about and incorporate into your sense of self. But there's no self like the one you constructed of yourself before you got into spirituality. There is no Ed, no Stevie, no Max, no Maria, no Vesselina, no Padma, no Spencer. You look inside and there's nobody there with that name. They're just emptiness and lots of different experiences inside. When I look inside myself, I see lighted space and lots of different shadows that are cast by light on my eyelids, reflected from different surfaces. I hear the ringing in my ears, louder now in my right ear than in my left. I feel my sense of presence, the energy body within, the energy body that's more real to me than my physical body. because it's like the energy body permeates and wears the physical body. The physical body is merely the vehicle for the spiritual body. But the spiritual body is more close to you, that sense of I am. But no matter how far you search for that sense of I am, it keeps receding more and more into emptiness until you become totally an empty being with no thoughts, no emotions, just a vast emptiness stretching everywhere. And you think, maybe I'm this emptiness. But then you realize that you're observing this emptiness. You're still separate from the emptiness, but maybe you say, just the act of recognizing that there is emptiness is an act of separation. Perhaps I'm not separate from it at all. Perhaps that's only apparent separation. So you go down further. You keep searching for the I. You keep searching for the self. And at first you may take yourself as being the witness, the one who's watching it. And then you may say to yourself, since I am watching it, I am separate from it. And everything in the world changes, but the watcher does not change. Therefore, the watcher is outside of existence, is timeless, is immortal. But later on, you realize that this is just a trick. This is a verbal trick. Saying, I witness consciousness assumes that there's an unmoving, stable subject that is different from everything that moves and is experienced in your world. And so you identify with something which is imaginary, that posited, unmoving, undifferentiated, eternal self. It's an idea. It becomes an idea you identify with and accept. You say, like Ramana, I am spirit. I am deathless. And Nisargadatta says, your spirit is dead before your body dies. Consciousness is just as fragile, just as frangible, just as flickable, just as flaky as the physical body, and even more so. It certainly is not eternal. For him, the ultimate is nothingness, where even the I am goes to die, where the subject goes to die, where the subject becomes non-being, where the subject no longer experiences anything. Nothingness, the big sleep. Nisargadatta says you can look at it in any one of two ways. Nothingness is a thing that you return to ultimately. Your body is burnt, the ashes are scattered, and life forms begin to pop out of them. And you live on as the universal life taking hold in your former ashes. Not as a human, but as a bug, a mushroom, flower. For Nisargadatta, life does not continue after death. Consciousness just evaporates. Your body falls back into the earth and is reintegrated. And you are no more. Just like during sleep, you are no more. This is the big sleep, the one you do not wake up from. On the other hand, Robert and Ramana said, Everything is consciousness, and you are consciousness. That's not to mean that when your body dies, your individual consciousness continues. But the universal consciousness does. The consciousness of the sum of life, the sum of life on earth and in other worlds. You as an individual cease. There is no reincarnation. You become universal consciousness. Now you can know universal consciousness as an individual by surrendering everything. Surrendering yourself, surrendering your desires, surrendering your fear, surrendering to a lover, surrendering to God. And when you surrender everything, the only thing left is consciousness. And this consciousness is in such a beautiful, beatific state of perfect surrender and openness to everything that it can welcome death as a friend, as a lover. And this is the state that I want you to be able to feel. The state of perfect bliss, of surrender. And when thus surrender doesn't mean that you don't do actions. It means you don't get in the way of whatever God is trying to do through you. There's no more resistance to the forces that are pressing you to do something. You go along with it, no matter how sad or joyful the trip is. And even sadness becomes your greatest partner, because sadness can be so sweet. It takes you so deeply into yourself. And you feel closer to God. So, is there a key to spiritual practice? A key to making spiritual progress? There is. Spiritual advancement has nothing to do with the mind. The mind is a big hindrance. The mind will wrap you up into stories which will create all kinds of mental turmoil in you, emotional turmoil. You'll doubt yourself. You'll check your own behavior. You'll check out the guru and ascertain his or her intent. What are they doing? Are we going to go along with that? What? And you'll think about them. You'll think, are they truly a teacher? Or are they just using us, the students? They'll have all kinds of doubts. Your faith will be shaken. And if you survive, you'll come back stronger. But the spiritual path is so easy to get exhausted on that you give up and go back to worldly life as much as you hate it. Because in retrospect, it seems so much more solid and stable than spiritual life, which is always changing, changing, changing. There's no solidity in spiritual life. Because what you are keeps changing from day to day, depending on your discovery of that day, your identification of that day. I can rest in myself. which means to me resting that deepest level of myself, of just sitting and being able to respond to somebody calling my name, or being able to get up spontaneously when I feel thirsty and getting a glass of water. It's what the Zen masters used to call a man of no rank. He has no title. He has no portfolio. He has no resume. He just acts spontaneously with whatever is presented to him or her. He's not constantly checking his mind or his feelings to find out which are real or not real. He just goes straight ahead without wobbling. And don't most of us wobble all the time? We'll take 3 steps. We'll take 3 steps forward and then wonder, is this the right way? And then take 2 steps backwards and maybe head off in a new direction, 3 or 4 steps, and then stop and say, is this the right direction? We wobble. I wobbled for many years, going from Zen master to Zen master, from one Shakti teacher like Muktananda to Dhyan Yogi, to the Buddhist teachers like Tianan, and then Robert, who I can say is my last formal teacher, and then to a woman who I fell in love with many years later, who I could call in a way my greatest teacher, but she was an ordinary person, an ordinary human being with an extraordinary heart and extraordinary energies, which because of my level of development and residing in emptiness, I was able to fall in love with as the complete opposite of the emptiness from which I was in. She, in a sense, was my savior. She took me out of emptiness and brought me back to the marketplace so I can teach now. And I convey energies and understanding directly. Like all these bullshit stories I'm telling you, they're all true. But what I'm telling you with the Shakti that I have around me, it's not mine. I don't know where it comes from. With the words, it seems to impact people, and they have experiences. It's part of your spiritual training. Listen to my bullshit and see what happens inside of you. You light up with energies. You think, that Ed is an asshole telling these stupid stories. Or you say, Ed is very deep. I think. I love you all. That's the main thing you need to know. We are a spiritual family. When somebody takes a member of our spiritual family away, I get upset. I freak out. Or I become, as Angela calls me, a drama queen. Or now she calls me a drama king. But the strange thing is, people that call me a drama king or drama queen tend to do so in such a dramatic way that they themselves are just as big or bigger drama kings and queens as I am. I have that innate ability to be able to piss people off, to be able to get them upset, to give them drama back into their lives rather than boredom. I give you drama. Especially if you live around here, right, Max? You get drama all the time. Does anybody have any questions? Vesselina, you have anything to say?
No, I don't have.
Did you say no, you didn't?
Yeah, I don't have. I feel fine.
Good. I'm glad. Max, do you have anything to say? VJ, Spencer.
Why did you get banned from Facebook?
Because of my post about Remco and Angela, that he said I was a energy vampire sucking the life out of her, which caused her a great deal of fear because she believed he might be right. And I posted it there along with his contact email and her contact email. For the life of me, I thought it was a perfect post. Just throwing a little shit against the wall.
So probably because somebody reported that then.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he did. But there was no arbitration. I wasn't able to defend myself. I didn't see the community standard that my post violated, but apparently they think it did. Any other questions? Okay, let's just sit and feel the Shakti. Can you feel the energy inside your body? Either rising from your pelvis area up into your heart, into your throat, and into your head? Or do you feel it inside your body, like your thorax or your abdomen, circulating like around and around and around? And if you look within, it may be colored. The bands of energy going around may have colors, green, red, as does the ascending energy. Or do you feel energies descending like a gentle mist or a gentle rain, hitting your face and your head and entering and coming down into your body? It's a golden light or it's a white light. You see that energy tube in the middle of your body that goes from your perineum to the crown of your head, that carries the energies upwards towards the brain. When you breathe in for a count of 2, the energies go up the tube into your brain. When you breathe out for a count of 2, the energies just radiate from the brain, your brain. In, up, out, radiate. Can you feel the energies coming up your back? Up the spine, you feel Kundalini. Does it go up the middle of your spine, or the right side, or the left side? Does it go all the way up to your brain? Or does it get stuck around the heart, or even lower, or in the neck? It's good to know all of these different energies, just because you see you're larger than your body. There's a whole different dimension to your existence now than a body living in a mundane world of other bodies and mundane things to do, like going to the office or going to the car shop to take your car in, going to the bank and taking money out to pay for the car shop. There's a whole different dimension of angelic energies, of bliss, of healing energies, of feeling your energy body, your sense of presence, which becomes more real than your physical body. And when you recognize that your energy body is more real to you than your physical body, the fear of death seems to drop away, because you see that the physical body is not you. It's like a carrier for you, a vehicle. And yet, deep down, you know that the physical body, without it, there's no you, there's no consciousness, there's no energy body. So when the physical body dies, the energy body becomes reabsorbed in the universal consciousness, so to speak. It dissipates, it ends. Nisargadatta tries to give it a little good flavor by saying, you're absorbed into the infinite. Your relative consciousness, your isolated consciousness returns to the totality of consciousness. Well, that's bullshit. It's like a leaf falling off the tree. It doesn't return to the tree as another leaf. It falls to the ground and rots. But the tree continues to live on. But you, as the isolated instance of consciousness in the body, are no longer there with your particular memories and your particular sense of self associated with that body mind. They're gone. Your body dies. It makes you humble. You hear that? You're not going to live forever, Maria. And everybody in Brazil is damned to hell by your new president, who joins our new president in being an asshole. Max, I think you ought to get another PhD. Spend another 6 years working on another dissertation. Maybe this time you can do it in European languages, European literature. Get out of the sciences. And BJ, you're going to go back to shocking yourself with electricity. Stevie, have you anything to say?
Just thank you for being a drama king.
Yeah. B, anything? Ken, anything? Padma, anything? Muhammad, anything? I love you all. The spiritual life is infinite. Once you've had at least a Shakti pot experience, it continues to unfold the rest of your life. It unfolds in its own way in you. Some are meant to do a lot of practice, a lot of meditation, self-inquiry, a lot of reading. Others do nothing and the experiences just keep coming. But the experiences don't mean that much, not even the experience of the unchanging. It's not a matter even of the understanding that unfolds. Really, it's a matter of getting more and more humble, letting go of more and more things in your life, surrendering to life as it is in the moment, not getting too agitated at any moment in time, like I do. I allow myself to get agitated because I like it. I like living fully in emotions and energies. I get bored when nothing is happening. I think Robert was this way too, because he was always manipulating things to make things happen. And he'd always have a little smile on his face when somebody was in great pain, because he knew he got them. They were now moving. They weren't stuck feeling they had known everything. There was no work to be done. He did something almost every month that raised suspicions that he wasn't who he pretended to be in satsang. By kissing one of his female students, by dating another, by becoming a notorious womanizer and being chased from one place to another. We must have moved satsang to 7 or 8 different places over the 6 years I was with him in Los Angeles. And I think all the time he was smiling. All the time he saw the chaos he was creating, he was smiling. He took each time being kicked out as an opportunity to shed the useless people who would never get anywhere because they had so many ideas what spirituality was about and how a guru should behave. He was a rascal, a soft-spoken rascal. I'm a loudmouth in comparison, drama king in comparison. He just smiled and manipulated people in the background. I rub your noses in it. And I get a great deal of kick out of it. And I hope you do too. Robert could barely talk after 1993, just mumbled. He used to say, there are many teachers who speak. There are many teachers who are silent, but there's only one who mumbles. I can say there are many teachers who are silent, many who speak, one who mumbled, and one who's a drama king, creating emotional chaos everywhere. People say, don't you realize that people get hurt when their feelings are hurt? But shit, it's better to have your feelings hurt than your head broke open. Hurt feelings are part of the course of growing up spiritually. I want you to feel great jealousy, great anger, terrible fear, feeling of being lost, feelings of despair, feelings of hatred even, feelings of envy. Because when you're feeling the feelings, you're not thinking. I know initially the thinking can set off the feelings, but when you get in the feelings, you're in your body. And your body becomes alive with the feelings. You never feel more alive than when you're deeply in love. You never feel more alive than when you've lost somebody and you're feeling a deep grief. You're never more alive than when somebody attacks somebody you love and you're filled with rage and desire to protect them. And that's what I try to bring to you, feeling alive. First emotionally, and then the deeper ways of the energies. You can feel the bliss of your own self, the love that is you, the fear that is you, the anger that is you, the negative darkness that is you, and also the burning white light that is you, the intense intelligence, the yearning for God, and the descent of the grace of God, if you're lucky. A vision of God as you get closer to your own self-realization. Like David, Spiro, I say the only thing you need is to be close to me. All those other practices of doing self-inquiry, doing meditation, are kind of dead practices. I want you to feel your body. I want you to feel your desires. Feel your love. Feel the emotions. Re-enter your human body after having tried to escape for 20 or 30 or 40 years into some transcendent realm or behind a muscle armor that is so tight that you can't feel emotions or energies. Dance with the energies. Feel the energies and dance with them freely. Not in a muscle-bound way, but in a free-flowing way. Now, are there any questions? Any answers? Yes, ma'am.
You hear me?
Yes.
You say that Robert used his smile for manipulate persons and people. What do you do to manipulate persons?
I do the same. I make up stories.
Okay, and the second,
I generate energies and people can feel it when I talk to them. I attempt to confuse people and at the same time to clarify them. I do all kinds of things.
yes, you do. Most of all is confuse. You can do this very well. The second question is about feeling emotions. If one emotion is too bad to feel, brings bad sensations to the mind and to the body, how deal with this?
Learn to enjoy the bad sensations.
How to enjoy a bad sensation?
Because it's only intolerable because you label it as bad. Instead, don't label it as bad. Just feel it. Like, let's say you get jealous.
Okay.
Jealousy has gripped your whole body. Your whole body is filled with jealousy. And you go, oh, like that. And instead of wanting to get rid of the feeling, you say, wow, this has really wound my body up. If I look at it the right way, it's really making me feel alive. And then when you can enjoy the feeling as something that's making you feel alive, then that.
I believe in that.
Huh? What?
I believe in that. I believe, you hear me? Oh no. Yes. I believe in that. I'm just, for me, the more difficult is how to get a way to enjoy this. I know that is a way to enjoy this, but sadness, this is just a example. When you're really sad and you start to feel suffocate for something, and something you can't run, but it's too difficult to enjoy this because it's bring you bad sensation, bad feelings, or bad thoughts. How to deal with this? For me, it's more difficult is to recognize that what I'm feeling is just a feeling. It's not a drama that I made to this.
Exactly. You've answered your own question.
I answer my own question with words, but not with actions.
So when you get some terrible feeling like fear or envy or hatred, go over to the most comfortable chair in the house, lean back, and just relax. Take 6 deep breaths and get them all the way out. Each time you let the air out, you'll relax more. After 6 times, you'll begin to feel relaxed. Just sit there and see if you can feel the feeling totally. And if you can't, relax some more, another 6 breaths out. And then the feeling will start taking over your body. And it may scare you, and you may try to jump away, but don't. Just feel sadder and sadder and sadder and sadder until you can't feel sad anymore. There's nothing wrong with feeling sad. It's a very high state, as a matter of fact, because you're very deeply in your body and you're very sad.
I think that with me, the more difficult that I have to deal with my anxiety. This is correct.
Anxiety, yes.
Sadness is I'm crying too much and scream. I don't know what I do, but I know that I can feel well after whatever that make me feel sad. But anxiety is more difficult because I cannot stay quiet feeling that, because always something makes me move, and this is make me feel more and more
I've always found that brandy will help a lot in settling anxiety. Brandy and maybe an Ativan or some other mild tranquilizer will even you right out. No, you can do the same thing with anxiety, but it's a lot easier to do an anti-anxiety medication than it is to conquer anxiety. Anxiety will go. The older you get, the more comfortable you get with yourself, and the anxiety will dissipate. But if you are able to, when I was young, I used to have anxiety attacks that were so paralyzing that I thought I was going to die, that my heart was going to stop. They were unbearable, and I feared them a lot. But I haven't had those in decades. I sort of enjoy anxiety now when it does come, by just letting it take me over, because the feeling I get with anxiety is the body shaking all over, a little trembling all over, which is a lot like the Shakti, feeling of Shakti. Where did she go? She disappeared. Oh. So I'm in my chair feeling anxiety and wanting to jump around, and instead I don't move. And I just watch how anxiety manifests in my body when I'm not moving. And if you don't fight it, or let's say you don't respond to it, and you just stay in the now feeling it, it becomes a very pleasant sensation. Especially along the back, and the arms, the face, mouth.
Thank you.
Well, I'll see you Sunday, but what has been happening in the last week or so, we've had a lot of internet outages, so I can never be sure whether I'll be able to last all the way through a satsang. So that's always a possibility. So if I disappear, it's because the internet has disappeared. Until Sunday, I love you all. I'll think about all of you. And I love you all. Come back Sunday at 11, will you? Bye-bye.